Hey, what's up? It's Morg, but if you already knew that, did you miss me? I wanted to come on here and tell you guys the truth about my first year of college.
Yeah, I might just hit it when you pass that shit, cause that's that shit you love.
To give you a little bit of a background, I grew up in a very, very small town, so these things that I have been told or that I was programmed or kind of like instilled into my life and how I'm supposed to live and all of these things, it might be different for you. Okay, before I get into exactly what happened during my first year of college, I wanted to tell you guys why I wanted to take a year off and why I should have. And if you are debating on whether to take a year off or anything like that, that I highly suggest you do that just because it's going to help you in the long run avoid burnout. So the reason why I wanted to take a year off was because I didn't want to stay in my small town. I wanted to leave at a very young age. I wanted to leave this town, and my first year of college, I decided to actually go to a college here in my hometown, and I was gonna, spend 4 more years here. Thankfully, I did find a place that was about 2.5 hours away from where I grew up, around my high school, like all of those things. So it kind of felt like I left, and it was on the border of Michigan. So I actually had worked at a casino where I was working in Michigan, and then I was going to school in Indiana and things like that. But the first thing that I was struggling with when I got into college was just the curriculum in general. It was a very different teaching style that I wasn't used to, and they always tell you, your first couple semesters of college, you're probably going to be failing tests, and it's going to be very difficult, and you're going to get a little discouraged just because you're not used to the way the professor's teaching you, and every professor teaches you differently. And you have to get used to that professor's teaching style. So some of the professors, they might teach you strictly word for word out of the book. Some professors don't even use the book at all, and they just teach you from a PowerPoint and their worksheets, and that's what the test is over. Some of them, they do the complete opposite. They teach you word for word out of the book, but their tests are completely off the PowerPoints, and sometimes it's vice versa. I really struggled with that, and I went from, getting A's and B's in high school without even trying to getting B's and C's in college, and I was working my ass off, and then just due to the grading system in college, a B and a C is kind of like a D and an F. Yeah, so if you get a C, that's pretty much failing, or if you end, at least for the college that I went to and the grading system that they were using, it was like if you had a C, you were failing, and if you were in the A's and B's, it was very hard. So you pretty much almost had to score 100 on every single test and worksheets, and the curriculum and professors that I was in and getting taught by, the biggest portion of their grading system and your overall grades were the test, and that's always where I did the worst on. A lot of the reason why I felt like I was getting these grades was because I was way farther behind than I feel like most of the students that I went to this college with. I felt like my high school didn't really cover the things that this college wanted me to know, or that I should have already known, or I had to do a lot of teaching myself, and when I was being a full-time student and being a full-time employee, it just wasn't possible for me to what we learn in high school for one whole year of high school. I wasn't able to teach myself that in 2 or 3 weeks before the test, if that makes any sense at all. Another thing that really affected my college experience was just my life. At the time, I was going through a lot of things in my life, and there was a lot of external factors that were just really taking an emotional toll on me, and dealing with feeling like I'm a failure in college. I went from being pretty intelligent in high school to, always getting A's and B's unless it was a math class, to going to college where I was getting what felt like D's and F's, and I didn't understand why. I was not fulfilled at my job either. There was a lot of, for one of the jobs that I had while I was in college was only paying me about $9 an hour, and sometimes they didn't want to be flexible with my college schedule. So there were weeks that I was only making $9 an hour, working 20 hours a week, and that was barely covering my bills. So that gave me a lot of financial stress, because I had to then use my college loan money to pay my rent, and it was just like I was really unhappy because I wasn't fulfilled at college, I wasn't fulfilled in my life, I wasn't fulfilled at my job. And when it boils down to it, at the end of the day, what I did want to do was leave the state, and because I put myself in this position, I wasn't able to leave, and my money just kept running out and running out. One of the other things that I realized, and I think it just was the college that I went to in general, there was a lot of favoritism towards the students that were getting their college tuition paid for by their parents. And what I mean by that is I wasn't able to spend, 18 hours on campus through various activities with that included the professors, or go to the study tables after class for 2 to 3 hours. I wasn't able to really have that campus life, and also I didn't live on campus, because there were some of these apartments where you're living with 2 or 3, sometimes 4 other people, paying $1,200 a month for rent, when I could have just gotten my own apartment and only been paying $600. So that was a thing that I noticed, that a lot of favoritism was towards the people that got to really focus more and be more present on campus. And I don't want to say they didn't deserve that, because obviously they were putting in a lot of the work, and I don't want to, the school I went to, it wasn't a lot of parties, but it was more so of just how I grew up. I was paying for college completely on my own, so I made it to the study tables when I needed to. But as for having a pizza party, or being around them watching a movie on campus, things like that, I just wasn't able to do that, because I did have a job and I had other things that I had to do. I did notice that if you had a good relationship with your college professors, they were more lenient on you on tests. And I don't want to say this was due to favoritism, but if your professor knew you, they remembered you, and you always went up to ask them questions, you wanted them to explain something, you put time aside to really put the work in and ask them the questions and go to their study tables, I feel like they were more lenient on grading you in that sense, because you were putting in the time, they could see you were putting in the effort. One of the last mistakes that I had to come to the realization was, apart from my social life in college and my actual curriculum life in college, it was the fact that I wanted to take a year off. I knew after my first semester that I was more than likely going to take a year off. And I wanted to do that to build up a savings account. I wanted to do that just because I was super burnt out. At the end of my senior year of high school, I was very burnt out on school in general, just people and life, and I really needed a break. But what we're taught in high school is that, if you take a year off of college, you're never going back, and just a lot of negative talk. And they're saying it to you to kind of encourage you to stick with it and better your education, which I completely understand. But that's why I'm so grateful in this day and age, to where you can have more than one option. College doesn't have to be your end-all be-all. And a lot of times people tell you not to take a year off or go to a factory job, because that is not going to make you successful, or that, I don't know. It's just a lot of small town limiting beliefs that they force onto you, and that you are supposed to go to college right after high school, because if not, you're never going to go back. And I think that's the case for some people, but if you're very determined to better your education, it's going to be way better for you to take a year off, just because it's going to give you some time to breathe. You're not going to feel so suffocated. You're going to be able to do more things that you love, spend time doing things that you love, and just give yourself a break. You have to get your own vehicle, you have to get insurance and get a job and apply for FAFSA and just get all of these, like, you're learning new things. You're learning how to live on your own, you're learning about bills, you're learning about all these different types of things that you need to do. And I think just taking a year off and learning how to life, as opposed to going right back into college and making yourself learn all these things at the same time, it's a little more stressful. We're really taught to, okay, you graduate high school, you go to college, you find your soulmate, you get married, and then you get a job, you work that for X amount of years, and then you retire at 65. And if you don't do everything in the time span that you're supposed to or that you're taught to, you're going to be behind. I think now it's really awesome that you don't actually have to take that path. You can wait a long time before you have kids. You can wait until whenever you want to be married. You don't have to actually get like a corporate 9-to-5 job. You can do a part-time job and have a part-time business. There's like a lot more options now than when I was learning about these things. You're in a really small town like how I was, and everyone has this like small town thinking. It's not acceptable to want to have a clothing line. It's not acceptable to want to be a pro athlete or a singer or an actor or things like that. It's more so, okay, those things can happen to people, but they don't happen to people like us. And those are the types of people in authority. So these were my teachers telling me these things. These were my friends' parents telling me these things. These were my family friends telling me these things. And when you're hearing it over and over again, you start to believe it, even though that's not necessarily true now. And that's why I think that it's awesome that we have the internet through podcasts and through YouTube videos. There are a lot of people out there really speaking up and saying, hey, if you don't want to do this mediocre path, you don't have to go on that. You can have a business doing what you love, and you can actually make up to 6 figures doing it. It's just a lot of people have this limiting belief around money and around how they can advance their life and their career path and things like that. The last thing I wanted to tell you guys is that depending on what career path you want to go on, you don't need college. And I don't want to say this to people to be like, college is stupid and you don't need to go. I think that it just really depends on you. If you're watching this video and everything that I say is resonating with you and you're like, see, this is why I don't need to go to college, you already had these thoughts before you watched my video, so I'm not influencing you in any way. I'm just telling you my story and what I wish I would have done. If I would have taken a year off from college, I would have realized that being an entrepreneur, I don't need to get a degree or get a doctorate to be a veterinarian, because that is no way going to help me or better my life or better my business. It's just going to put me in a lot of debt, and it's going to make me get a job that I don't want to do or I'm not going to pursue, so it's kind of a waste. There are also jobs that, like, if you want to be a nurse or a doctor or whatever, that's fine. You need college for that. There aren't alternatives, but I just think that right now experience is trumping education, the education system, in a sense, because if you go out there and you learn how to code and you build your own app and you're talking with people that do it every single day, if you go to college for 4 to 6 years, by the time you graduate college, everything that you learn in college is going to be useless, because all of the data, all of the systems, all of the equipment, technology, all of those things are outdated that the colleges are using. So I just want to say it in that sense. I also don't think that every single person should be an entrepreneur. I just know that there are multiple ways to make an income online, multiple ways you can be an entrepreneur, and being an entrepreneur means different things to different people. Some people say it's being a business owner, other people think it's being an influencer, other people just call it being a YouTuber, a blogger, things of that nature. So I just wanted to share my first year experience with you guys, and I hope this helped you to pretty much just, if you don't want to go to college right away, if you want to take a break, that's completely fine, and I absolutely think you should do that, because at the end of the day, this life is yours. It's the only one we have, and to keep those people that you went to high school with, or keep those people of your family friends, or even sometimes your family, keep you playing small is never going to make you happy. And following your dreams, following your passions, doing what you love every single day is. So when you're making your decision whether you're going to take a year off from college, not go at all, or do it and do it to the best of your ability, just know that there's more to college than like an education. You have to keep up on your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, manage your stress. So that is my story, and I hope this was helpful for anybody that was watching, and I will see you every single Thursday with more self-help tips.
Please don't hit my phone when I'm busy. Matter of fact, don't hit my phone at all. Don't hit my email with some shit that won't make me money. Matter of fact, I'm ignoring it all.